And Angola is facing one of its worst recessions on record, and the government announced a few days ago that it will begin privatizing its national oil company, Sonangol, which is a big deal. But let's hear from Matt Kiniger, Associate Practice Lead, Sub-Saharan Africa at Docker Frontier, London. Hello, Matt. Good afternoon. Good to have you back on the show.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Now, the decision to privatize Sonangol and Ndiama represents a major shakeup of the state's involvement in the economy. Why is this happening now, and how likely will these assets be privatized by the target date of 2022?
Yeah, so, well, I would go back a couple of years, and I would say that since becoming president in 2017, Mr. Lorenzo has tried to push ahead with a sort of long-standing, sweeping economic reform program to make the economy more competitive, but he hasn't really succeeded. So this announcement is not really that surprising. However, the fact that he has, or the government has announced that they want to privatize two major state-owned enterprises, Sonangol and Ndiama, surely illustrates the fact that it really is struggling to manage the very high debt levels of these organizations. This is happening because, as you've mentioned, the country is facing a very significant economic crisis. It wants to make the economy more competitive. And I'm sure the current economic crisis has really focused minds within the government. In terms of the deadline of 2022, probably not realistic. The government doesn't have a great track record in terms of achieving its privatization goals, and there probably won't be a lot of investor interest in both these state-owned enterprises, which are not performing very well. But that doesn't mean that it won't happen. So we do think that the direction of travel certainly is a positive one in terms of privatization.
Now, following Zambia's default on its international debt earlier this month, concerns have been growing about sustainability of public finances in other highly indebted countries like Angola. Now, given the country's weak economic outlook, how worried are you about a sovereign default in the coming months?
This is a great question, because it's something that our clients are asking us, our multinational clients. They are increasingly worried about debt and what it means for economies in countries like Angola. So there's no denying Angola faces a very precarious fiscal position. The country has been one of the most adversely affected by the global economic slump and decline in oil prices. And again, this is one of the reasons why the country is pushing ahead with privatization of its state-owned enterprises. The risk of default is high. But our base case is that it won't happen over the next 6 to 12 months, and this is for a couple of reasons. One is that the country has entered into an agreement with the IMF to restructure its debt. It also has secured a delay in debt payments with China, so we don't think the risk at the moment is imminent.
And companies operating in Angola have been affected by shortages of foreign currency, as well as significant depreciation of the kwanza this year. What is the outlook for the currency in 2021?
Yeah, so this is a key point for multinationals and investors into the market. They really have struggled with access to foreign currency for a number of years. This has eased somewhat as a result of the reform to the foreign currency regime, the exchange rate regime. But certainly the outlook for the kwanza is quite weak. The currency has already depreciated 35% since the beginning of this year. We do expect further depreciation. The kwanza could reach 700 to the dollar this year, but the outlook is slightly more positive. So access to foreign currency is likely to improve as exports stabilize. And depreciation will probably slow towards the end of the year. We think the worst is probably behind the kwanza for the time being, so a slightly more positive outlook for the currency in 2021.
Thanks, Matt. We appreciate your time always. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
And Zimbabwe's